And welcome back to the Livingston Parish Football Show. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. I'm here with Mr. Rob DeArmond, our sports editor here at the Livingston Parish News. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Probably better than you, having heard about your unfortunate travel situation yesterday. Mr. DeArmond was at the Live Oak volleyball game, but in order to get there, he had to sit in that massive accident on I-12, actually going both ways, so it was very difficult. So we are glad he is up and at 'em and with us this morning. He had a rough evening.
Really, really interesting situation because I get on the interstate, you realize it's happening, and I crossed over the overpass at 55, and my wife called me and said, "Where are you?" And I said, "It's too late. I'm stuck." So,
in the thing that you're calling me about, that's where I am.
And that's where I am. I'm in it, and I got to Live Oak for the volleyball match literally when they scored the final point of the first set. So kind of played some catch up. I let them know what happened, and we're all good, man. It was long night, but we're okay. It's all right.
Life goes on.
Yeah.
Huh? So talking about football, going into week 4, district. District is starting at least for the 5A teams. And for 3A, not quite there for 2A. So we'll talk about each individual game here in a second. Here's the schedule. Denham is hosting Central, of course, the longtime rivalry there. We're going to talk about that. Walker is traveling to Scotlandville. They're in Baton Rouge. Live Oak heading up to Zachary. Albany going all the way to Bogalusa. And Springfield has South Plaquemine. So we're going to jump into Walker and Scotlandville first. Kind of don't want to call it the marquee matchup. That's not the best way to put it, but probably it's an intriguing matchup.
Exactly. Right.
Walker, had a tough game against St. Thomas More, bounced back against a young Broadmoor team, but still things to work on going into Scotlandville. So first, tell us a little bit about what Coach Mahaffey had to say about his team's effort against Broadmoor.
It's an interesting thing because I asked him about, you look at it and they beat Broadmoor 68-0. And when you see 68 points, you can kind of go, okay, that's pretty good. You're doing well. Broadmoor did not have a first down in that game. Defense played well. They had short fields, short punts, set them up for short touchdowns. That's pretty much what happened all night long. And then in the second half, when Walker put in some younger players, they busted off some long touchdown runs. But when you see 68 points, I said there's a tendency maybe to say, okay, we're chugging right along. But Coach Mahaffey said, look, trust me, man, we looked at the film. There's some things we need to work on. And he even said first play of the game, we saw something that we didn't do correctly. So it's about working on things and making sure they get them better, because he said some of those mistakes as they progress through district could wind up being costly for them.
So, going into this next game, that's important because you're going to be looking at speed from Scotlandville, who just kind of put a drubbing on Southern Lab. There it is, came up with it. Of course, Coach Ricard, former Walker coach, another piece of intriguing information. So, tell us a little bit about what Coach Mahaffey expects to see coming up against this opponent that is not young.
A lot of athletes, 2 really good running backs, and the defense is playing well too. When I asked Coach Mahaffey about facing this offense, they're still trying to get a whole crop of new starters kind of, up to speed, if you will, or getting them. I don't say you can't say ready to play, but just getting them to where they're comfortable with what they're doing. And I said, how do you do that with those young, just ask him those younger players. And he said, it's going to come down to tackling, because he said, if you look at our games, the 2 that we won, we tackled well. The one that we didn't tackle well.
Right.
So you want to, and he said, if those athletes can get the ball in space and we can't wrap them up, it could be a long night. So it kind of, I guess game tackling is a type of deal. We want to get everybody to the ball, stop them as much as we can.
And you talked a little bit, those were some of the things that they had to deal with in the St. Thomas More game. Probably did a little bit better with that during Broadmoor. What are some of the things that he mentioned from the Broadmoor game that they have to work on specifically?
Just kind of trying to make sure they do the things, and I'm looking at the story right now.
Sure.
Like I said, missed assignments. And I'll read this quote. If you get 10 yards on a play, everybody thinks you made a great play, but you still made a bust.
Right.
And that's one of those things that as a coach, they're going to see, but you might not, as a fan, you might not see it that way. So you're kind of looking to just small things right now, just to kind of tweak and get to where you need to be.
Right. But that's always a good place to be, working on small mistakes. At least you're not trying to pull it all together. And
I say small just for me. I mean, for the coaching staff, they might see them as bigger mistakes, but just,
sure.
And I just want to clarify that too.
Well, and we'll be talking more about a team that's still looking to try to get it all together. That's what I was going to couch it against. Finding issues with individual players is always great because that means as a whole, things are going well. So you can focus on each individual piece of the puzzle. Before we get into that other team, though, let's talk about Live Oak. Going to have, has a stout defensive effort from the Eagles the last couple of weeks. Going to be challenged this week on the road heading up to Zachary. So first, tell us a little bit about that defense. Very stingy, hasn't allowed a touchdown since Kentwood. Kind of leading this Eagles team.
It was interesting. I was at the Denham game and I was getting texts and kind of updates of what was going on at Live Oak, and I didn't hear for a while, and then all of a sudden it's 3-0, and it's 3-0 at halftime, and so that you just kind of was like, man, they're doing pretty solid, like you said, the last touchdown they allowed was Kentwood's first drive of the game against Kentwood a couple weeks ago, so they're kind of setting the pace. They got a few turnovers, some interceptions they were able to capitalize on last week, and that kind of 16-0 against Opelousas. The win's a win, man.
Well, and as we discussed going into that game, one of the things that they're going or had faced was speed, and that's going to happen this week again.
Right.
And that was one of the things that Coach Westmoreland said. This is kind of getting us prepared for district because teams like Scotlandville, Central, Zachary, who they face, all these teams have a little bit of speed element to them. Even Walker, Brian Thomas, a lot of those kids are fast. Denham's fast. So
he jokes about it every week. He said, somebody, I don't know what the deal was, but we're every week we're facing a faster team. It seems like every week, So,
well, hey, what doesn't kill you, right?
Right. Right.
Before we jump into their opponent, though, kind of an interesting. So you talked about it. It was 16-0, kind of a weird score. The week before had beat everybody up on the ground. Last week, 2 passing touchdowns. So looking at some more dynamic ability to do what needs to be done on offense, what did Coach have to say about that?
And I'll go back to when I talked to him before the season started. We talk about running that wing T and how it's designed to kind of grind some stuff out. But he said with the receivers we have, we're not going to be afraid that if we see that open pass or we can call a pass play with some of the receivers we have, just feel comfortable in doing it. And you're just starting to see it happen now.
Right. So interesting to bring that extra piece of the package out coming up against Zachary. Zachary playing well on both sides of the ball, having good defensive effort. And of course, the Mr. Hilton, a LSU commitment out there at wide receiver. So let's talk a little bit first about what Coach Westmoreland had to say about what they're going to face defensively.
They just kind of know that this is what they're going to get. They're going to get a solid team, and there's nothing. They know what to expect. Zachary's number 3 in the Sports Writers poll. I don't think there's any surprises here. I think that the biggest thing for them, at least from an offensive standpoint, is to kind of play that. And he didn't make any bones about it, not trying to hide anything. We got to control the ball. We can't let Zachary, score on big plays or put together drives. So, it's like I said, not trying to hide anything. Just stick with that ball control. And you saw it work against Kentwood. That was a clinic, I think. Now you got to see if you can pull it off against Zachary. That's the big question.
So offensively, Mr. Hilton and the quarterback's name, please. Why I can't remember it.
Eli Holstein.
Right. A dynamic duo there.
That is the duo. And the thing is, it's not just those two. You've also got a solid running game that they've been able to show. So lots of things to take into consideration, which is going to, we talked about that defense for Live Oak. This is going to be a challenge for them this week. No doubt.
So big game up there against Zachary. Now talking about a team that is still looking to pull it all together. Whereas Walker and Live Oak are kind of dealing with individual pieces. Denham Springs not doing 0-3 at the moment. still looking for that final piece of the puzzle to fall in to where at least they could start pulling some things together. One of the things that Coach Brett Beard did say to you was that inability to finish is something that he has noticed. So tell us a little bit about that.
If you guys were at the game last week against Westgate, you saw that the team can drive the ball. They were moving the ball. Turnovers hurt them, and it's 8-0 at the end of the first quarter. But then Westgate puts together a 21-point second quarter, just kind of pulls away. And, you know, that's what we were talking about, was what I talked about with Coach Beard was, you know, getting those situations where you can take care of it, put it away. Denham Springs didn't get their touchdown until I think it was less than a minute in the game. I think there was about 46 seconds left when things were finally able to kind of come together. There's another aspect to this here too that we didn't talk about our pre-production, but I talked to him about just the number of young players that they're playing right now. He told me, if I remember correctly, let me make sure, 13 sophomores and 1 freshman last week starting.
Wow.
And he didn't want to, you know, he said, I'm not going to use that as an excuse, you know, but it's probably not what you want to be doing right now, but that's where you are as a program. Now, I guess the positive of that is these younger players are getting varsity experience.
Right. And they will get older.
They're learning how to play. And I guess that's the positive that you take away. He also said that he's been really impressed with the improvement week to week of the offensive line. And you kind of see that last week in their running game. Ray McNeely had 99 yards and Cam Kelly came with 67. So like I said, they're moving the ball, just not being able to finish drives. That's
can't reach the end zone.
Right.
And so, you know, obviously defensively you're facing Westgate. We talked about it last week, while they did lose Keishon Boutte, still had plenty of talent. Difficult to stop.
Right. Exactly. And kind of once they got rolling, it was kind of one of those things where you know, you're just trying to play catch up.
Right.
At the end of the day, you know, and you know, Coach Beard's still trying to instill his system and his philosophy to these kids, and it's just a matter of getting to where they want to be right now. He keeps stressing Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
I you know, we've heard that multiple times from Coach Beard this season. I think that's where they are right now. So,
but what was also not built in a day is the rivalry with Central. And this is a rivalry game. As we talked about in pre-production, you know, Coach Beard excited to be a part of this rivalry because, you know, with Central you're going to get a good football team. Brett actually had problems with Central at Live Oak. They had trouble. Central always seemed to have their number. And I'm sure he brought that up.
It was kind of funny because I covered that game at the end of last year, Live Oak and Central, and this was us just kind of talking, and I said, "You remember Central last year, right?" And kind of looked at me. I said, "Y'all didn't get a first down in the second half," and you know, I kind of got that look. I was like, "I'm just telling you, man. I remember it well because I was sitting in his office, and I said, I don't think you guys had a first down." And as I did my stats, I got done, and I was like, no first downs in the second half. So, you know.
These are stats. They are figures.
Yeah,
so going to be an interesting game. You know, again, we talked about it as we started the Denham portion of the show. You know, it's looking to try to pull it all together. I suppose that from a Denham Springs standpoint, pulling it all together for the Central rivalry game would kind of be fortuitous. You know, but what are some of the things that they're going to be focused on going into this game?
Yeah, I'm looking at the story right now, and you know, Central's got a running back in Pierce Patterson who ran for 123 yards and a touchdown last week, and Jonathan Swift is the young quarterback, had a pair of touchdown runs. And Coach Beard, he said, look, man, they're going to run the football. We know what they're going to do, you know, and that's not to say they won't pass every now and then, but you know what's coming, you know.
So, again, that game will be at Denham High. So, and it's all three 5A teams opening district. Another team that's opening district is Albany, but they are going on the road to Bogalusa, quite a haul, right there across the St. Tammany Parish. Whew. Into Washington. Couldn't come up with it. But first, I want to talk about last week. Had a chance to go 3-0. Didn't quite work out for them. Kind of a weird circumstance, but also some internal issues. They lost to Pearl River, who had just beaten Springfield the week before. So they kind of had an idea of what they were getting into. And then they didn't because of what happened before the game. So kind of tell us a little bit about what happened in that loss to Pearl River.
It was just interesting when Coach Janice called me Friday night and, he told me what happened. And I said, I was again, kind of take me through, tell me what happened. Pearl River using two quarterback system. So both of those quarterbacks get hurt in that game, which forces Pearl River to line up basically their running back and he goes as quarterback. In that system. So like Coach Janice said, I said, how did that kind of change things for both of y'all, but mainly for Albany? And he said, when you prepare for it, those packages are coming, but it's one of those things where you're not expecting it the entire game. So I went back and looked at some of the stats there, and the young man's name from Pearl River, Brian Jenkins, had 205 yards on 24 carries. After, mainly playing quarterback after those quarterbacks get hurt. So it was kind of a change in maybe what they were expecting.
Right. So, coming out with, it's a lot like when you see some of these backup quarterbacks come into the game in Division I football. You're just not ready for them. And a lot of times they cause a lot of havoc.
Yeah.
Because you're just not ready for them. And as you mentioned before, Coach Janice had his team ready for sort of the total Bogalusa package. But when it was just one, doing certain different things, they just couldn't quite keep up.
Right. And another part of it was, too, because I asked him, I said, was it more them or more you guys? And he also, they had 4 turnovers as well. So he said, I'm going to put it on us because we're still not, we're just looking to get consistent. The week before, going into this game, Pearl River last week, I said, I guess the goal for you guys is to get to 3-0. And, I told you guys it'd be great, but he said, we know we've got stuff to work on and we still haven't put together that complete game. So that's basically what there is. Some consistency is what they're looking for right now. Even with that record, you got JJ had 292 total yards, 201 passing and 91 rushing. But it's just putting it all together.
Right. So another team looking to kind of make sure everything's consistent, putting it all together. Facing Bogalusa, who has, a lot of returning people, including a pretty stout quarterback. So tell us a little bit about him.
When I talked to Coach Janice, they know exactly what's going to happen. He said, look for number 5, Josh Taylor. It seems like he's been there forever, and they know that he's the guy that they have to kind of, you don't want to say stop, but you maybe limit, and even that might be tough. It's like I said, it seems like he's been there forever, and whatever they're going to do, it's going to run through him.
So they'll be looking to a little bit of defensive effort this upcoming week, trying to stop a quarterback with whom they are familiar.
Right, they know him, and if you guys have seen any of the games between Albany and Bogalusa the past couple years, they come into play. What he said, just looking at Bogalusa defensively, they're gonna put a lot of pressure on them. He said they like to go 7 in the box and then line up man coverage on the back end. So it's one of those things where if you can make it work, you might be able to hit some things in the passing game, but at the same time, you've got that pressure coming.
Right.
So you have to be able to, it's a catch-22, and you try to find the balance somewhere.
Sure. And pull it out maybe when they least expect.
Right.
Moving south, well, I guess back into the parish, since Albany will be traveling. Springfield facing an opponent that they've kind of faced a couple of times over the past couple of years. You and I talked about it. I went down to South Plaquemine for a playoff game. I say a few years back. It was actually a while ago.
I had to look that up.
Yeah, I think it was 2012 or 13 or something like that. And, they are coming up to Springfield. Springfield finally gets a big win against North Central, 46-6. Let's talk about that first. This was a team that needed things to come together and has said things seem to be coming together. So tell us a little bit about what Coach Surpass.
Right. Springfield's made a few changes on offense, kind of tweaking some things, and they're trying to figure it out. And if you saw them against Albany in the season opener, you can kind of see glimpses of it happening. But I think this was the first time that they actually see some things kind of come together with that offense and those new changes. Brian Babb threw for over 300 yards. And the other thing is Kobe Linares, he's kind of the steady guy on the ground. You know what you're going to get. He ran for over 100. So it looks like things may be coming together for them right now.
So, I mean, and probably a good time. South Plaquemine, has their ups and downs, former state champion, lots of athletes.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
Coming together at the right time. This may be the right time. So, what's the scouting report?
Like you said, it's exactly what you were saying. You're looking at a lot of athletes, a lot of guys who can move, some speed. So I think the biggest thing when I talked to Coach Surpass this week is, you talk about the playoff pedigree, I guess, of South Plaquemine, and this is going to kind of be a gauge to kind of see where Springfield is at this point. And he said there's no doubt that we can kind of tell where we are, and then you kind of see, okay, what else do we need to work on going forward? Because they've still got a couple more weeks before district play starts. So.
Right. Small district. And, so what is that? What is it? Is St. Helena still in that district? No. Yeah. Okay. So it's them, Pope John Paul, North Lake, and St. Thomas. Springfield and 3 private schools, huh?
That's where you're at. That's where you're at. What you're doing.
Right. So and if for those of you curious, those are all 3, St. Thomas and Hammond, North Lake and Covington, and Pope John Paul and Slidell. So, and quite a bit of distance to travel.
That's some traveling.
Yeah.
Except for that St. Thomas game. That's
All right. So as we normally do, Rob is going to pick each game and give us a spread now.
No. I'm not a betting man.
Well, we used to have a pick 'em here. We got rid of it because it got us into a little bit of hot water.
We did it in Morgan City as well.
Yeah.
And same deal.
Yeah, right. Well, Coach Surpass, I remember one time I picked against him because they had a rough year up until that point, but they pulled it together and pulled out a big win. I actually think it was against North Lake. And boy, he gave me some hell for that.
We used to do it in Morgan City, and it was kind of like, I catch heat from some of the coaches, and what are you doing? And if you need to use it as motivation for your guys, coach, go ahead. You can do that.
You have my blessing.
And I remember one year Hammond came in and played Morgan City, and and they were like, "So what are you gonna do?" I was like, "I got to pick my alma mater. I can't, So sorry, that's just how it works.
Yeah.
So, and Hammond had a pretty good team that year too. So
see, I was like my dad. My dad and I got to the point where it was he and I competing for the top spot because we held no allegiances. So it was but that got us in a lot of trouble too.
That was the only time, like I said, I don't that was the only time I really said I'm okay. I'm picking with my heart on this one. That's my school. I have to do it. But other than that, I'd get to the point where I'd look at, okay, how many am I trailing by and what do I need to do? So that's how nothing personal, man. It's all business.
Well, one last time, let's go through the schedule real quick. Again, in the big rivalry game, Denham is hosting Central to open up district play. Walker on the road at Scotlandville. Live Oak on the road at Zachary. Albany on the road at Bogalusa. And Springfield hosts South Plaquemine. Want to thank you, Mr. Rob DeArmond, for coming here, providing the good info for these football games.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us for week 4 of the football season. We got a late start this year. We didn't start till week 3. We have figured out our video issues, so there will be a video version of this one coming up later today. We're doing this on Thursday. Any Thursday night games this week?
No, none this week. I kind of have gotten used to the Thursday games, but we didn't have any. I sent out a text to all the coaches on Sunday afternoon. It's like, please let me know if you're playing Thursday. Kind of makes things a little bit easier for us in terms of coverage, but it didn't happen this week.
Well, so we're going to make it work.
So, yeah, it'll happen. I thought I broke your camera too, by the way. I thought it was on me. So
Which one?
the camera last week, we didn't get video.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I did.
I turned it on and the lens shattered.
I told you. You know what it is.
I will give Rob credit. He warned me. No, actually, we had a graphical issue on the camera. Have updated the camera. It is fixed, so we will have video version.
I have a face only my mother can love.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's exactly what happened.
He says having a wife and children and other such people that love him. Anyway, Rob DeArmond here, folks, our sports editor. Thanks for joining us again. One last time, my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news. Appreciate you guys joining us again for the Livingston Parish football show. This was week 4. We will be joining you for the rest of the season. Want to remind you, folks, we are on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays. That's $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We have a podcast page which has audio and video versions of these podcasts where you can go check them out and go back and listen to last week's if you're curious to see what our conversations turned into and what these conversations might turn into when everybody plays on Friday night. We hope you have a great day. We wish our local teams all the best of luck, and we will see you next week.